Okay, welcome back to a long overdue woodworking video from Nemesis Gear Steampunked Out. Um, we are making a wand again. It's been quite a while since we've done one. This one is going to be alder wood. And right now, I've got my blank. I've already got that cut out, and I'm bringing it to the round. And the first thing I'm doing here, yet again, is getting my the blade of the wand down to the size that I like. All my wands, I really like to go for a more like a thin, refined, elegant look to them. I've seen, I mean, there's a lot of people making wands out there, and I've seen some videos and stuff, and some of them are really good, and some of them I just feel like the wands are really chunky, and I get it. It's really hard to wood turn something really long like this. Most of my wands range between 12 and 15 inches. Most of them are around 13, 14 inches. Um, and when you start getting really thin on the blade of that wand, that it starts to flex, and it's really easy to break. Um, and I'll talk about how one of the ways I avoid that. But anyways, all of my wands, the wand shafts, all the way up to the where the coins would be, right between the palm, the handle, and the blade, are about the size of a fine point Sharpie marker. So, less than a half an inch, right around 3/8 of an inch, and then they even taper like thinner to the point, sometimes close to a quarter of an inch. So they're very thin. Um, Not, I mean, obviously we're not beating these, and yeah, you can break them, but they're not a tool that you're using to hit things with. So I really prefer that more elegant thin style. That's just my personal preference. So anyways, what I've done is I put the chuck jaw on here, and the way I get away with doing those thinner wand blades, the shaft of the wand to be that thin, is I'm feeding it into the chuck. So that way I have less of the wand that's sitting out exposed where it's able to flex and stuff. And those jaws help hold that steady. So that really helps a lot. So I've got most of the length of the blade done, and I've marked out where the different parts of the wand are going to be. Again, I really see a wand very much like I do a sword. So you have the pommel, which is the very bottom base. Then you have the grip, and then you have the quillion or cross guard, and that's your transition between the handle and the blade of the wand itself, the long skinny part. And the reason I do all my wand blades to be the size they are is I make wand holsters, and all of them are set to fit in my wand holsters, so they all fit. So you could wear them on your belt or something, because who wants to go to a convention? You're carrying your wand around, and people lay it down there, and or you have it in your pocket, nobody can see it. That's no fun. So having a holster is great. You can kind of show it off, and people can see it. So I actually sell quite a few of those. Anyways, back to the woodworking. So the handles, but from the pommel up to the blade is right around 4 inches, typically ballpark. I usually leave about a half an inch for the pommel, about 2.5 to 3 inches right in there for the grip itself, and then somewhere between an inch to a half an inch to an inch for that transition between the handle and the blade. The difference between a wand and a sword obviously is you don't really have those quillions or cross guards there, so that kind of transition that can be very decorative, and it kind of blurs the line between the handle and the blade, so it can kind of serve as both functions. um, so anyways, right now I'm just using my roughing gouge, and I'm kind of working the handle into the shape that I wanted. I decided, with this wand I want to try a different technique. that I've been using to color the wood. I don't like to use dye or stain on the wood. Um, Stains, for the most part, will be I mean, most of your wood stains out there are just to make one wood color look like another. So yeah, I mean, if you can't afford walnut wood, you can get something cheaper and stain it with a walnut stain, and it looks pretty similar to walnut. Well, I can get walnut wood, so I don't really use stains very often. I do use the colors sometimes, but when you use dye like that, that can kind of rub off on your hand, and you have to do a different kind of finish. And I do prefer a natural wood finish. But as we'll see here in a little bit, when I get to doing some color, there is another technique that I've been really happy with how I've been playing with it. And it's just a homemade technique that chemically um, darkens the wood. So I've got that. I've got the handle rounded out. I'm just kind of finishing up that transition between the handle and the blade, um, and kind of refining the shape there. And I have edited out so much of this. It's already sped up by 400%. Um, this can actually get rather time consuming. I think this whole video is like only like 12 or 13 minutes, and it usually takes me a couple of hours of work time to do a wand. Depends on how complicated it is, but hour and a half, 2 hours, but not including the dry time and stuff in between. So getting that final shaping done of the pommel into the blade, or the quillions into the blade. And this part always makes me nervous here. I'm getting pretty soon. I'm getting really thin on that little tenon that I've got on the back, the base of the handle, right at the pommel. And now we do a whole bunch of sanding. Actually, I think I do a little pre-sanding here first, kind of smoothing it out, because I want to put in some wire friction burns first. And I do this on a lot of wands. I really think that it helps define different areas, and it's literally friction that heats up and burns the wood. And this is just steel wire. That gives it some nice definition. So burning is one way that you can change the color. Some woods work better than others when it comes to burning. For that, I take that little brass bristle brush and kind of get the extra char, the loose char out of the lines there. So then a whole bunch of sanding, and then I'm kind of I'm wiping down the dust with just an old rag. It's a cotton, and actually kind of burnishes a little bit as well, so that's kind of nice. So now I've slid this down, and now I'm using this solution. This is a ebonizing solution, and this is just made using vinegar and steel wool. And basically you put a bunch of steel wool in there and you let it dissolve, and the leftover liquid, I filtered mine out through a coffee filter to get all the little bits that didn't quite deteriorate, but that leftover mixture will react with the tannin in the wood to darken it. And first it looks just kind of wet, but as it sits, it gets darker. And I'm just using the torch to kind of warm it up a little. It's still really cold here. We have snow outside, and I'm trying to speed that reaction up a little bit. But that's as you can see, it is turning darker. And this is, that has kind of dried it out. But as this sits, it will continue to darken. And depending how much tannin is in the wood will, determine how dark this is going to get. Now with alder, is really funny. My test piece of alder turned actually just a scrap that I hadn't sanded was kind of a brown. And after I did this on the finished piece, as you can see, it kind of turned sort of a darker gray, which is kind of what I had expected from an ebonizing solution. So I'm not unhappy with it. It was just a surprise color. But as you can see, it definitely has darkened that wood. And those wood burns, that friction lines that I put in there, that helps to separate so that I don't get that liquid. Basically it's like a water. If you put water on there, it's going to run up. the grains of the wood, so that friction burn helps to keep that from going up the grain and traveling too far. So then here we get real. This is where I get nervous again because I'm taking the little tenon off the handle there, and it gets really thin, and then we're going to cut it off, and it always makes it feel nice when the wand just stays perfectly centered in there. So I know I got a good straight wand. So now I've got this. I've gone ahead and finished off the shaping of. I do the final shaping of the blade of the wand, like a little bit on the belt sander to round off the tip, and then a flap wheel to kind of smooth it out because I like to go with the grain. And I'm just applying boiled linseed oil now. And as you can see, that really brings out the color. The ebonizing solution retains all of that wood grain, so you still get that natural look. It's it's still wood. It's just a darker color, and it's one really good way I found. If you're working with a wood that has enough tannin in it, walnut works fantastic. Some woods just don't have enough tannin; they don't darken hardly at all. But yeah, this one turned out really good. I was real happy with how this one worked out, and I'm gonna pop up a picture here in just a minute. But as you can see, it kind of has that kind of a dark grayish black darkening to it, and burnish it all up, and then I'll put wax on this and polish it, and it'll be good to go. And here's the final photo. And yeah, as you can see, it turned out really nice. So I do have this available on my Etsy store. So I hope that you are enjoying the videos. I've got a few more to post. I'm actually working on some other fancier ones coming up here in the near future, but those are taking quite a bit longer to finish up due to dry time in between steps. So anyways, if you've liked this, please, make sure you give me a thumbs up and subscribe. And hopefully I've got another video that I can work up here in the next week or so. And I hope to come back and see it. Thanks for watching.